welcome to Bears Banter Talk Show. Hey, we just completed our fifth season, and we're going into our sixth season of talking about Bears. Oh, Bears! How y'all doing today?
Pretty
Good,
good.
good,
Pretty
good.
good.
It's
Okay,
I got my squad with me, man. I'm good.
okay,
it's
yeah.
what they call it on 670. It's a win Thursday. it's been a win. It's been a
Hey,
win all week. It's
yeah.
been a
Yep.
win all week for the Bears to go out and open a checkbook and get this guy 13 mil. I'm just hoping. I'm just hoping that he worth it. And y'all know I was against a first time coordinator, been there, done that, the shiny new toy and all of that. But I'm glad that they did it. And listening to Ben Johnson's press conference yesterday or day before, whenever it was, he said, I wanted to run it back. He was like, when we lost that NFC championship game, everybody, I was the hot commodity, but I felt so sour and I felt like I wanted to run it back. I wasn't ready because I wanted to run it back to see if we can actually get there. And then for them to lose to the Commanders, which I predicted, I'm 9-1 in the playoffs. Uh, Side note, for him to be like, okay, here we go. I think I've done what I wanted to do, and I'm just glad that they didn't waste no time. They didn't waste no time.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Watching the press conference. Uh, I was kind of excited about the press conference. You know, I'm gonna admit that Ben wasn't my first choice, but I'm glad the Bears did get Ben. You know, it was well known that my first choice was Joe Brady or what's his name?
Mike Vrabel.
Mike Vrabel. Those were
Yeah,
my two
Joe
choices,
Brady.
but I'm not against hiring Ben at all. I am
That
happy to
was
see
okay.
that there seemed to be genuine excitement from him. And I noticed something that I
Mm-hmm.
had never noticed by any coach that the Bears ever hired. The team they're leaving is actually upset. I'm talking about the fan base. I don't remember a fan base ever being upset
Mad.
when you
They're
fired a coach that
big
you wanted. They
mad.
were literally upset.
Hey, but you know what? I'm gonna tell you something. I know Krista will appreciate this. I was kind of on the fence. I'm like, okay, they got him. It's pretty good. When he got in that press conference, said, "I'm not just gonna drop the playbook down." He basically gonna blow up the playbook and build it around his quarterback. To have
Mm.
a coach walk in, and that was one of the very first things my eyes did like this. I'm like, really? And I've been looking at a
Mm.
lot of Ben Johnson stuff, and it's like some of the stuff, if he could just build it around him and run some concepts, man, it's gonna be interesting. We were crying about, all of us are crying about, man, why don't they just go and take a heat check and just throw a bomb or whatever it is? Well, if he pull out that playbook, I was looking at this one sequence where caught the defense in zone. Dude ran a dagger, man, and I'm like, okay, you got your man. You stretch these guys out. You got that guy coming right up there in the middle, and you got the dude going out. All the different concepts I like. I like the fact that he runs a zone like outside, and there's different types of things that he incorporates into the offense. And I know hopefully he'll put some of those in there. But him just saying that he wants to build the offense around his quarterback and blow up that playbook, I'm like, that's all I asked for.
Okay. Couple things I wanted to say before we get into the Bears and Ben Johnson and all of that stuff. I'm actually talking about Ben Johnson. Detroit is mad, and that makes me happy. First of all, Detroit is mad because they blaming him on trying to look for his next opportunity. Okay, Detroit forgot that Jerry Goff, they Pro Bowl quarterback, threw three picks, fumbled once, and they wide receiver threw a pick, and their defense gave up 45 points. So as much as you're gonna hear, some kind of mumbling about that, that's not on the offensive coordinator in any way. Ben Johnson is coming to the Bears, and I like the swag that he's bringing with that. I wanted to be here. I couldn't wait to be here. The NFC North is the top division, and I can't wait to beat Matt LaFleur and Kevin O'Connor and Dan Campbell two times every year. Dude, that's my kind of swag. So I'm like, I can't wait to see him get out here with the Bears. He's gonna bring everything, build everything up from the stud, and then you get an opportunity to really see what you got. So I'm excited about this.
Well, the
Well,
fact that
mhm. Did you
well,
what
the
you think
fact
of
that
Chris?
go ahead, Chris.
I'm just gonna echo everybody else said. I wanted somebody with experience because I was just looking at we kind of sort of win now mode. We don't got really time to get a new guy in here and learn how to be a head coach. That's just something a total different beast from just being a coordinator. However, we got the best candidate of all coaches, so I can't get mad about that. And for me, if I could just take a little further than what Plank and Jay and Guy said, it's weakening Detroit for me. You took
Mhm.
their one of their best coordinators, and now they got to find somebody to replace them. And sometimes it hit, and a lot of times it's missed. So for me, that's going to weaken them, and then you'll probably see that a lot of their players are not like that. The only one that I would say is like that is Panay Sewell. Tyler Deckard is too, but St. Brown is not number one receiver. He's a good one, but he's not number one. Williamson, he's good, but he's not Jamar Chase. He's not like one of those. So you're gonna see a different Detroit team next year, and it makes it good for
Mhm.
us because then we get we got a better chance to beating them twice next year. So that's for me.
And that's a good point because the point that you're making is that the coach make the players better.
Yeah, yeah.
And
The
that,
He
coach
he
makes
but
the
but
players
yeah,
better.
he did though. St. Brown is a good wide receiver, and you are
He's a
number
good
one wide
wide receiver,
receiver. Yeah,
but guess what?
he's
Is he in my
he's
top five?
no,
Absolutely not. You
he's
know what
like
I'm
top
saying? So,
15. Yeah, he's
so
like
we
top
talking about
15.
right. So we're talking about coaches putting their players in the best position to succeed.
I
And
just happen to think that our wide receivers are better. I feel like Rome is on a trajectory to be top 10 receiver in the league. DJ Moore to me is always going to be in the top 10, top 15. That's already better than what the Lions have because you're never going to say that about Williamson. He's good, but he does not run all the routes in the route tree. He's going to burn past. Well, could he get to that? I don't know. But right now, all we can go off of what his game is. And their wide receivers are decent. They're not like they don't scare you. Ours will though. You're gonna be scared as ever of Roma Dunze next year
and
because he
speaking of
literally can. Yeah, he can run all the routes in the route tree. And now you got him a coach who that knows how to scheme, and his system has shown for the last 3 years. Like, hey, he knows how to take what he has and make him look really good. So that's just my point with that.
I have
Mhm.
to
speaking of
disagree. Can I disagree
speaking
with
of
Plank on one thing? It
I just
is his fault that they lost. It's his fault because due to the centrifugal force of a football, when he threw it, the trajectory and the rotation of the ball, when Mr. Johnson farted on the ball, it dropped the drag coefficiency and caused it to bounce. I'm just playing, man.
I tell you,
and I'm just saying
Everybody's bouncing out here.
and I'm just saying and I'm just saying speaking of I do want to know, and I said it, you know, during the season that I felt like DJ Moore had checked out,
yep,
but this dude was on family vacation and he flew back to Chicago for the press
Hmm.
conference yesterday. So it lets you know he's all in. I don't.
Yeah.
I hope that's a sign that he's all in. But he was on a family vacation and flew back to Chicago just to come to this press conference. I think you know, um, I think it's exciting, and I think that Ben Johnson is going to bring some things. Like I said, he wasn't my first choice because again, I
Hmm.
was on that trajectory where I wanted somebody that had been a head coach because we've been through this hot coordinator thing over the last few years. But I'm excited. I'm excited, and for him to just to see him try to put his staff together, and the things that I'm hearing that he's doing with Dennis Allen, who's actually a good defensive coordinator, and I'm hearing that they actually going to retain Armstrong as the special teams coordinator.
Mhm.
And he's not going to fire. anybody on the defensive side of the ball until he get his defensive coordinator in here, and his defensive coordinator is going to be like, okay, I don't want this guy, I don't want this guy, I don't want this guy. So even with that, he's already putting his stamp on like, no, I'm not going to get too big yet. I'm going to hire me a defensive coordinator, and he's going to tell me who he wants as his assistant. So I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that.
Well, first
Okay.
of all, one of the things it seems like that Ben Johnson brings to the team, which I hope is what I'm seeing, is accountability. DJ Moore came from his family vacation because he still owe us some plays from that. That was great. So as far as accountability, he's got to be put on notice, as well as Tyreek Stevenson, as well as a lot of other guys. And a lot of times when you have a new coach coming in, the guys that were on the team last year, they know good and well their place is not already etched in stone, and they're gonna have to bring something else. So I'm expecting to see DJ Moore bring something different because he was very disappointing to me. Even though his numbers were pretty well, as far as his attitude, not knowing how to play as hard as he could and help a rookie quarterback out, that was inexcusable. So him coming back just for the press conference, that's the very least he needed to do.
Yeah, I do like the fact that I know it's just talk right now, but we'll see. But I do like some of the conversation I've heard coming out of Detroit, where some people, the reporter said he actually coached guys kind of hard. Uh, he's a professional. Now, I want to make an example of last year when the Bears hired Shane Waldron. Immediately, I heard a guy from uh, Seattle actually said that the Bears might have made a mistake. So I actually heard a week later of a guy from Seattle actually saying it was a mistake, and he kind of described Shane Waldron's personality, which ended up being true. But anyway, to go back to him, he talked about the reporter from Detroit talked about how he actually does coach guys hard, and I like the fact that he made comments that guys better get comfortable with being
Being
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable, absolutely.
And this team has been begging for discipline. I ain't saying he got to be a jerk, but this team, one thing you heard in the offseason is they need somebody here. And all of them seem to echo that something was going on with this team this year, where this team seemed to feel they lack discipline within their locker room. And they seem to be calling for a coach to maybe instill some discipline.
Be careful what you ask for, though.
Yeah.
Guys talking about we need discipline or whatever. Then as soon as you start getting, putting that foot on their neck, then all of a sudden you see the real guy come out. Again, DJ Moore had the most disappointing. He was the most disappointing player this year, as far as I was concerned, because among the other things, I expected him to be a captain, a leader, what have you. Those linebackers, they need to be put on notice too, because I don't know who the defensive coordinator is, but this whole we the top defense, they didn't show it last year. And I want to put them on notice to make sure that they do. And that's what I'm gonna have my eyes on.
Except
Well,
Edwards.
we also have to try to hold Brian Poles accountable, Ryan Poles accountable with that as well, because going into last season, all we talked about is like, okay, who's going to be the pass rusher opposite Montez Sweat? We that was all off season last year. That was all during the season. They drafted Austin Booker, and they was like, okay, he might be the guy. He might be the guy. Then Andrew Billings got hurt, and that's when we saw our defense get real leaky during in the rush game. So,
Right.
Leaky.
right,
Leaky.
leaky. I was not talking, but I was listening to radio earlier today, and they was talking about how, which it's okay. Let me go. I'm finna be Taylor Wiz. You go off script.
Okay.
It's crazy how during this whole off season, when they was talking about Ben Johnson being a head coach and he wanted to bring his own GM and all this, not knowing that him and Brian Poles are actually
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
They went to the same school. They was grad assistants, and so it's always that thing where you talk about listening to the narrative of the national audience, that they throw these narratives out here and people just pick that up and they run with it without knowing the facts. So for me today to hear that, I was like, oh, okay, so they actually pretty cool. They pretty
Yeah.
cool with each other. So
You know what, Jay? I think
you have to be
also what
you have
I
to be
think
all
also. Yeah, I'm sorry, Jay. I think also what they was doing, and maybe I'm just being paranoid about it. I think this was also a way to dirty up Brian Flores' names because they brought him up in the light, and he's going to hire Brian Flores because they worked at Boston College together, and right, and it kind of made it feel like they didn't mention that him and Ben worked at Boston College together or was there together at the same time. I worked there together at the same time. But they brought up Brian Flores and it made it feel like it was something slimy going on. I mean, I don't know if y'all followed those stories. And to me, it was almost like it was starting to get that feel because you would see it on social media with some Bears pages. You'll see people saying, they better not hire Brian Flores. He ruined tour and this and that. So to me, they took that opportunity to kind of dig at Brian Flores a little bit to kind of make it look like so people could get the opportunity to say negative things about him. But anyway, back to Ben Johnson. I do believe that he's going to bring some of the staff from Detroit. He's going to bring somebody. And I'm going to say, if you listen to Amon-Ra St. Brown, I was listening to him. I thought he was about to break down crying.
Yep. Yep.
He was like hurt. He
Yep.
really was hurt,
Yep.
man. And
Yep.
that tells a lot too. And he said, I really love Ben. So even though Ben might have coached him hard, his players seem to really love him.
I believe that a lot of players really do want to be coached, and I know you have the ones who really about it, but then you got those other guys that talk about they want to be men, and you treat them like men, and they start crying. And it goes all into this whole thing. It ties into the whole social media thing. You ever notice, like some years, let's say before social media, somebody came up with something. It doesn't matter if they thought somebody deemed it true or preposterous. Before we even decided that we were going to agree with it, we found out for ourselves, and then we made our own assimilation of what it is. Some kid could say, I saw a booger with three-wheel motion and a 455 Hemi speed going down to Dan Ryan. And there's going to be 10,000 other people going to say, yep, I saw it too. And about 30% of them going to be legally blind. So you put like a narrative out there, and it's more convenient for people to just agree with the masses. And I do believe that with Flores, because all they knew that in this era, all you had to do is just throw some junk out there, and people are gonna go. And after a while, it gets to the place where even if you prove it to not be true, you're still gonna have a collection of people who are gonna still perpetrate the fraud. So I'm with you on that, B.
Okay. Hey Jay, you mentioned about the 13 million. Well, you just mentioned them paying on that much. I mean, what's y'all thought on the Chicago Bears coughing up? I think it was 13 million a year roughly for 6 years. Even 6 years is kind of long for I believe a Bears coach. I think normally they've been doing what like 4. They might have did 5 on Flus. I can't remember.
Well,
It better work.
I think it's one of those things where I'm sorry, Plank. I think it's one of those things where you feel like, okay, we're gonna hire this coach. We got the rookie quarterback. He just completed his first year. We have 3 years plus the option year, so that's 4 years.
Yeah.
So if you can line it up with Ben having, I heard everything I saw was 6 years. So we talked about 4 out of his 6 years. When Caleb gets to that 5th year option, your coach is still intact. Now, my biggest thing is Brian Poles is on the lame duck. He's in the last year of his contract. So how is that going to line up? So I was actually surprised not to see that the Bears, which I'm happy, but I'm surprised that I didn't see that they were going to give Poles an extension to line him up with Ben Johnson. I'm glad they didn't because I'm still in this. Okay, you're in your last year, so now you got to show us. We got 4 picks in the top 80 of this draft. So you're able to get 4 of the top 80 picks in this draft. So we need to see how this is going to maneuver. But I love what Ben Johnson said today. He was like, I'm going to get with Poles, I'm going to get with Ryan Poles, and we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about draft strategy. We're going to talk about what we need because he even mentioned that, I looked at their offensive line as we played them, and it was, like you said, with the defense, it was kind of leaky. Mm-hmm. I like that word, leaky, because everything is leaking right now. It's leaky. So he said he's going to get with Poles, and they're going to discuss that. And if they can collaborate together and Poles get Ben Johnson what he needs with the cap space that we have.
Man, get Poles out the draft room. That's where I'm at. Get him out the draft. Keep him away from, because you look at last year, and y'all gonna agree. Last year, outside of Rome and Caleb, I don't know, because you drafted Karan. He should have drafted him. Then you take in the 5th round a punter. Why?
Fourth round. Don't give him credit. Fourth round.
Why? So that draft class ain't really looking too good. If you ask me, I mean Austin Booker, I think he got some potential, but yeah, get him out of draft room. Because if it weren't for Ian Cunningham, he was gonna do something stupid and try to trade up to get Rome. And Ian had to talk him out of it. So get him out. This is a crucial year for the draft and free agent. And I would say keep Poles out of both of them. And to answer your question, the $13 million, I'm a little surprised about it. My whole thing for me personally, I hope we win so we can say, okay, he was worth what he's getting. That's me. That's all. I just want us to win.
I would like to add this as y'all answer this question, Guy and Plank. When I looked it up, I think it was last week, so I don't have all the names in front of me, but there's roughly only about, I would say, 6 coaches in the NFL that make more than $10 million, which would be Andy Reid. The other coaches, Harbaugh. Both of them, I think both of them does, both brothers. And there was 2 other guys right now, their name escaping me, but basically it's only about 5 to 6 coaches that make more than 10 million annually. So Plank, are you surprised that the Bears coughed up 13 million? What you got, Jay?
Actually, I'm not.
Okay.
To answer your question, actually I'm not. At the risk of having too much hyperbole, the Bears, what they're showing is that they are trying to move toward to being a first-class organization.
Yep.
They've had a lot of problems. A lot of people started laughing at the Bears because they had 17, 20, whatever number of head coaches that they interviewed. The issue with that, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, the good thing from that is you get to hear the best ideas and the worst ideas from all of the coaches that are out there in the NFL. So this is a free opportunity to say, let me read somebody's mind and see what their plan is to get my team better. Some of those ideas might actually be good ideas, and you actually got to hear somebody say it for free. So as much as everybody talked about the Bears, didn't know what they were doing because they had too many guys going in for head coach, I say that's exactly the opposite. They had the opportunity to get good ideas and listen to what other people had to say. Number two, the Bears have a vision. They still know that they're trying to get this new stadium. So that stadium needs to line up with the head coach, needs to line up with this rookie quarterback who you're expecting to really be good. So from a Bears standpoint, they're trying to put all their ducks in a row and say,
Yeah.
let's get ready to make this next move. And it's going to be a world-class organization. So no more of this silly stuff with HR and all of that other stuff. The Bears are actually making very good moves and they playing chess instead of playing checkers.
Okay.
100% agree, man. I
And, you know,
100%.
and, you know, I think Kevin Warren has a big deal in this. You know, people talk about how he was brought here to build a stadium, but as the general manager of this organization, I think he felt like he had to like overstep some stuff. Like, yeah, okay, I'm still gonna try to get the stadium built, but wait a minute, let's look at this good old boy network that Trace Armstrong that brought in here, and we need to try to get away from this because again, y'all have heard me say this so many times. How are you the charter franchise of the NFL and you are this inept? This cannot happen. And
Okay.
I think Kevin Warren was like, okay, you know what, George? Virginia 102. She rolls around in her wheelchair. And George, I know you might take some stuff to her and she might give you some feedback. But guess what? You hired me as the general manager, as the vice president of operations,
President of operations.
the president of operations.
Yep.
Let me handle this. All I need you to do is open up this checkbook for this franchise that's worth $6.4 billion. Open up this checkbook and let me pay a coach that's gonna come in here and do what it is that we need to do. Right now, as of today, Ben Johnson is the seventh paid highest coach in the NFL. And
But
he has never been the head coach
Yeah,
there.
let me give you those names right quick. Top of the heap is Andy Reid at 20 million, Sean
20
Payton
million.
at 18. Sean Payton at 18. Mike T is at 16. John Harbaugh is at 16. I'm sorry, not John. Jim. Jim's at 16. Sean McVay is at 15. Kyle Shanahan, 14. John Harbaugh is 12. So he lands right above John Harbaugh. Then the next person is Dan Campbell and Sean McDermott, and everybody else is under 10 million. Really, actually under 9 million.
You know why it's a big deal? The reason why it's a big deal, you got to ask yourself, what is the only stream of revenue that the Chicago Bears have? Football,
Bears.
right?
Yeah.
You want to know what? And I'm gonna crack y'all up, and I'm gonna go in a whole nother angle.
I'm wrong.
When you have other interests, business interests like marketing, real estate, you know what? You're trying to juggle 5 or 6 things. Now, if you present that offer to somebody that has other things, the first thing they're gonna think is this: how valuable was he to them? Oh, dudes are crying that he would leave. Okay, give him the money. Okay, now let's go look at this building. With the Bears, it's like you sitting up in an office looking around. Yes, no, let me throw darts. Let me flip coins. And the problem with that is you watch the world pass you by when you think too much instead of being more progressive. I know some people look out and say they threw too much money in them, but see, not just that, and believe it or not, something like that actually shifts the culture as well, too. Because now the rest of the league are looking around like, okay, they really serious. They got this guy, and if you think, and like I said, it's too early to tell. I'm hoping everything works out, and I'm looking at how he started to manipulate at the beginning. You got to ask yourself, if it works, don't think other teams are not going to be like, let's see what the Chicago Bears did. They did this. Yeah, man, I don't want to throw this money, but look at what they did. They're setting a precedent. So now what happens is either other entities out there, be it coaches, be it players, they're going to look and say exactly what Jay has been saying. The Bears aren't cheap. The Bears just mismanage their money. But what happened is now you got a guy that people wanted. And if the proof is in the pudding that they spent too much money, go look at Detroit, Indianapolis, local media and see how angry they are about him leaving. And I say it was worth it.
Yeah,
We
guy. When you look at this, oh, go ahead, Christian. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna echo some. Actually, Dan Orlowski. But before you said it, I was thinking it. I think I might have alluded to it on our page. But all the other quarterbacks have a defensive head coach. Every young quarterback you can name: Josh Allen, defensive head coach; C.J. Stroud, defensive head coach. Um, Shoot, even Trevor Lawrence, his when he was drafted, his guy was a defensive head coach. Not that saying he's good or anything. We are the only team that got a young quarterback with an offensive minded guy who was ranked number one in his position,
Yep.
as far as Caleb Williams coming out of the draft. So this is something new for the Bears because they did something new that nobody in the league has done. You go look, you'll see every I think only one, that's Joe Burrow. He's the only one. We're the second. Outside of that, shoot, even when Andrew Luck was playing, defensive head coach, young defensive head coach. So we've done something that we've never done before. We drafted the number one QB at the position, not number two, not number five, not number 10, number one. And then he won a Heisman too. And then you go out and get the hottest coordinator who's been hot for the last 3 years. So that's something new too that we've never done. So I just wanted to throw that out there that like that is going on what y'all saying, like as far as the Bears are trying to act like a charter franchise, a good charter franchise.
Yeah, because that's unique for the Bears to actually get who they want, even for quarterback, really, right? Because you're right, because traditionally the Bears have always seemed to talk themselves out of situations, right? Like for example, I'm just gonna use Mitch, not to scapegoat on him, but you kind of talk yourself out of, man, Mitch is the guy, right? You kind of like, this guy is the guy, right? And the coaches, they seem to never pull off the coach that they really wanted, and it wasn't because of money. It was sometimes the way they handle it.
Right.
Like you could go back to the way they hired. I'm trying to think of the coach name.
Dave McGinnis.
Bruce
Yep.
Arians. Dave McGinnis.
Oh,
right?
Bruce Arians.
Bruce Arians. They fumbled that with the little fake press conference they wanted to do. What was the guy's name? He ended up coaching Marty Schottenheimer. They announced that he was going to be the coach, and they hadn't even worked out the deal, right? So he goes and he's getting calls about he's the new coach of the Bears, and he was like, the Bears haven't even offered me a contract, and so he ends up pulling his name out of the deal. So for the Bears to get the guy, who was that?
Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn. So the Bears have kind of fumbled these situations sometime, and they seem to have settled for the second guy or the third guy, and the fans, it's still sometimes us acknowledging that sometimes that they was just incompetent. We just say they being cheap, but I would say they was just being incompetent. They just didn't know how to execute it, and sometimes just that mom pop mentality, and also stuff being controlled by your agents, right? Everybody's agent. What's the guy's name? That they just ran a story about him on how Trace Armstrong. So you have like that influence going on with teams where who's really running the organization. But I think with the Bears doing a 6-year contract, it makes the Bears commit to something, because when you do these 4-year deals constantly, the Bears have been, especially under George McCaskey, they've been ending these coaches' deals 2.5 years, 3 years into the deal. George McCaskey took over 2012, roughly 12 years ago. He's had 4 coaches now. So he's averaging 3 years a coach, because you're not really committing to it, right? You go maybe owe them $5 or $6 million, and you just pay them the last $5 or $6 million if they don't coach nowhere. So this is a commitment.
And I just want to say, and I just want to say, I'm sorry, point, yeah. And I just want to say, the Bears hired Ben Johnson. Slow y'all roll, because if Ben Johnson don't make the playoffs next year, they're gonna be like, oh, we hired them.
Yeah,
that's why I love Bears Banter fans. I love y'all, but Bears Banner fans, Bears fans, y'all too fickle for me. Y'all are too fickle for me. Slow your roll. Slow your roll. Just because you hired the hottest coordinator and the hottest commodity over the last 3 years, if you don't make the playoffs next year, it's
That's
okay.
true. Right.
It's okay. This thing is chess.
Not for
My chess.
pose.
Yeah.
Let me
You know
tell
what
Not
this
for
you.
is?
Go
pose
ahead,
though.
Plank.
Let me tell
Not
you.
for
What
pose
it
though, Jay.
is,
It's
okay?
not okay for pose.
The Bears,
Well,
He gonna be
well,
out of here.
this,
He gonna be
this is
out
what
of
the
here.
Bears can do.
but Christian,
Go ahead.
is he out of here because they had a bad season, or
Nah,
are they,
he just
or is he out of here because they didn't make the playoffs? It's a difference between making the playoffs and having a bad season.
no, he's out of here because he didn't draft right for us to make playoffs.
No, no, no,
So
no,
so
Christian,
that seriously,
Christian.
no, seriously though, because how many more years are you gonna keep giving him though?
He's only been here three. This is what I'm saying. He's only been here 3 years.
Right.
This is what I hate about the NFL. You can't turn a bad franchise around in 3 years. People can look at Washington all they want to. They can look at Washington all they want to. Guess what?
No,
They
you
was a
can't. But
product. They were a product of things that happened to go their way.
you cannot make the mistakes that he has made in the draft. These you're not you shouldn't be drafting. Look at how the only reason why I'm saying is
And don't
that
go too
this
far in the
team
draft because we're gonna have the draft show next
right.
week for sure. Over his,
But
yeah.
no, all I'm gonna say
No, he's
is
talking about the past draft.
That's what I'm talking about, the past draft.
Yeah,
I'm talking
this
the past
past
draft.
season, how they set up and how they had the whole setup. They had it as we were a playoff team. They did though,
But
and
see,
how he approached that draft though.
last year,
You went and drafted a punter when you knew we had other areas of needs.
last
You
year was
went
a
and
failure. Last year was.
right.
I'm totally.
His first
Unfortunately,
draft kind of sort of
his
was
first
too though.
year with the breakdown, and last year with the hype, because they didn't do what they were supposed to do
Okay,
and
so
get
let me
rid of
ask.
the coach.
So let
I'm
me
putting
ask.
those. I'm
Let
putting
me
those
ask
years
y'all
behind
this.
because guess what? The whole thing with the hard knocks and them drafting #1 overall, them getting who they wanted as far as Caleb Williams, and them being as cocky as they was, that was a farce. And everybody, all of us, bought into that.
Let me
So
ask you this.
you know
Let me
what?
ask y'all this then, Jay. Let me ask you this. You know that the first 3 rounds of the draft are important, right?
Crucial.
Very crucial. Okay, so if
Crucial.
you're hiring me to be the GM, right? And each year in the draft, you can go into the 3rd round or the 4th round, and I draft a guy who shouldn't be even on the freaking team.
I
You
agree.
have to hold me accountable for that. You went and drafted Valens Jones, and do you know who was all in that 3rd round in that year? They're starting offensive linemen that could have helped us. That's one draft. Then you go in a crucial draft where you get the #1 quarterback in the league, and then you say, "Oh, I'm going to draft Kron Amagaji, a guy who played at Yale. No disrespect, but why are you drafting a lineman who come from Yale?" That's one. Then 2, you go draft a punter thinking like, "Oh, I'm going to get." No, we can get a punter from the freaking practice squad undrafted.
Yeah, so hey, keep some of your information for next week, Christian. Next week we actually we're going through his draft picks. So I want to stay focused on Ben Johnson tonight. Then we could talk about polls next week.
Go ahead, Plank.
I think Plank was going to talk about the money. Yeah, were you surprised about the money?
This is what the money does for you, okay? Have you ever been at a party and you see a guy that got on a polo shirt and some jeans? Nothing real special about him. but he just really dressed low key. And he walks out that party and he gets into a $250,000 car.
Mm.
Have you ever gone to a guy's house that you've been working with and you know him and he plays basketball with you and he's a little dirty or whatever, and he tells you to meet him at his house, and you go in his house and you see that he's got a 6 bedroom, 7 bathroom house? What both of those situations make you do is take a second look at who this guy is.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you giving this guy $13 million? Man, what is it about him that made him earn this $13 million? And that is what starts all of this rethinking to begin with. What the Bears needed to do and what they have effectively done is reset their entire franchise. Now people have to take them seriously. Now people have to say, what do the Chicago Bears know that everybody else don't know? Why are they paying this guy $13 million? Why are they putting all of this trust in their infrastructure?
Mm-hmm.
That's what the Bears did, and that's why that's such a phenomenal move.
Hey, can I
Yeah,
piggyback on? Can I piggyback?
I think the polls thing doesn't play as a bigger role like we may have in the past, because once you pay your coach that much money, that coach is pretty much is the guy that's going to determine that roster. He it's not. See, I think what we was having with the flu thing was, I think Poles was picking the people he wanted. That's why I say we need a 3 technique, but Poles like this other guy in the draft, right? We need this, and Poe's like, well, I'll get that guy for you. But I think this changed the dynamics of it and says the coach is in control of this 53-man roster as far as, and he's gonna have input in it where Poles is gonna be probably more of the negotiator of the contracts, right? He's just kind of over the scouting department.
You need to
Not really
be.
like it's, but I think this is what that 13 million put
Mm-hmm.
some in, right? Because when you
Yeah.
make more than your boss,
Mm-hmm.
who's
Hey,
really the
but
boss?
can I piggyback on what Plank was saying? We're talking about changing culture. Uh, there's this saying, everybody can talk about it, but be about it. There are two interesting things. Number one, with that money situation now changes. Number two, one of our listeners, Dan Tan out here, he said something very prolific. He said, I like that Johnson was addressing players directly during his speech. We could sit up and we saw the hard knocks and all this stuff. It was like, oh, yeah. And like I said, I bought the Kool-Aid too. But in order to change the culture, you have to speak the culture every day. You just can't go on Monday like everything's great and then we lose like that. Whether you win, lose, draw, wake up, brush your teeth, whatever you put out in the universe comes back. So what they did is, okay, we're going to kickstart it. Number one, we're going to give this coach that. Okay, let's see what he can do. Number two, with polls, maybe we're going to scale you back a little bit and let you sit in and watch this, but we about to do something. Number three, which is something we probably will end up talking about later, to let me know what the culture would totally flip itself out there. Let the Bears go sign Trey Smith. Now you got a right guard and a right tackle, and both of them are like 25 and 23 respectively. And if you seen Wright, when Wright played with Tevin Jenkins on that side, nobody was running. So can you imagine Trey Smith, who has played 5 years and has only missed one game? He's an all-pro. You put that dude on the right side next to Darnell Wright, you have completely changed the landscape, because now you got two guys that could potentially be guys that could retire in a uniform that you don't have to worry about. Now you're starting to see guys look around and say, oh, we're able to do some stuff we weren't able to do. Now you're going to have guys walking around Hallis Hall every day, win, lose, draw with that. And that's how the culture changes. So we'll see.
And I actually
Hey, let me
think,
type a little bit of
and
this.
I
Oh, go ahead, Jay.
no, I was gonna say, and Guy, you're right, because I actually think with this hire of Ben Johnson, I think with the cap space that the Bears have, it's gonna actually draw some people. They're gonna be like, oh, okay, wait a minute, that might be a place that I might be attracted to. So it's early in the game. It's early in the game, and I
It
know
is.
we are all Bears fans, and we always have this optimism. But this has the potential. to be game changing just because of who they signed, what they signed him for. Not like it matters to us that what he got, but it matters to the league. The league gonna look at this like, whoa, wait a minute. They put this money into this. Now this charter franchise of the NFL might finally be serious about winning some football games.
Yeah,
It being a
signing a
viable
head
product
coach
for a
don't
number of
even
years.
it don't even go against your salary cap. So they should have
Yup.
been doing that.
Yeah.
Well, Christian, that's hey. Virginia
Yeah,
102. She clutching them pearls. She 102, but she was still clutching them pearls, bro.
Yeah.
yeah. Hey, look, you can't have stability in any organization when you're changing GM and coach every few years, even if it's a corporation. You can't change president every couple of years and change up a management to have consistency. I think about like back in the day, there I'm trying to think of the restaurant now. They couldn't figure out what name they wanted to name it. It was a buffet style restaurant, and they kept changing the name, and that was one of the reasons this business didn't grow for a while because they could. What was it playing?
Bonanza and Ponderosa.
Yeah, can't figure out what name they want to name it. So
Hey
they kept
man,
changing the name, but it's hard to grow, right? You got to just dig down and say, this is who we are. And I think the Bears, by doing Caleb Williams and also getting Ben Johnson, the Bears are at least at the beginning stages of saying, we are trying to establish an identity. Hey, let's play a few minutes of this press conference.
Good morning.
good morning.
It
I mean,
is
good evening.
an honor to stand before everyone today as the head coach of the Chicago Bears. I would be remiss not to acknowledge a number of people that have helped me along the way here, starting with where I just came from. Sheila Ford Hamp and her family have been incredible for the last 6 years of my life, making Detroit and the Lions organization a great place for me and my family and raising our kids. Dan Campbell is more than just a colleague to me. He is a friend. He is a mentor. He is a man that trusted me when he didn't need to, and I will forever be in his debt and respect the heck out of him. He's an amazing person. One time someone told me he is a unicorn, and they could not be more true words than that. I appreciate Rod Wood, Mike Disner, the rest of the executives there in Detroit. They were a pleasure to work with, and it was one of the most memorable times being able to turn that franchise around. The offensive staff in Detroit. There might have been some tough nights. There might have been some tough game days, but I do appreciate your support, your understanding.
I'm gonna move it forward a little bit.
And that you love is to make the people around you better. But the truth is that those group of guys, they made me a better coach and a better person. They inspired me every single day. And I love driving into work to work with those men every single day. One of the biggest pieces of the puzzle for me is my family, my wife.
Go a little further.
Necessary information to make an informed decision. Thank you for that. With that being said, I want to thank the search committee here in Chicago. It was clear to me from the beginning that the priorities were straight. There's only one way for us to have success here, and that's the right people in place. George, thank you for trusting the people that you've hired. It is perfectly clear that you're willing to provide all the resources necessary for us to build a sustained winner here in Chicago. Kevin, I appreciate your support as well. You're going to play an integral part of everything that we have going on. And Ryan, thank you so much for trusting and believing in me. What you and your staff have already built here is so enticing. This roster is absolutely loaded with talent already, and I look forward to building it with you. You and I, as we've already talked about, we're going to be on lockstep every step of the way. I cannot wait to work with you. I told this search committee that I wanted this job. And there's several reasons why I wanted this job. The first is this place. For the last 10 plus years, my family and I have been coming up for a Cubs series every summer. And it doesn't take long to realize that this place is special. Okay. These people are special. This is exactly where I wanted to raise my family, my kids. I know we're going to have so much fun living up here in Chicago. All right. Number two is this roster that Ryan's already built. It is stocked. It's loaded. Everyone wants to talk about the quarterback, and Caleb, I'm excited to work with you, but it's going to take more than just you. And there are a lot of pieces already in place. And I can't wait to get to work with the rest of you guys. And then finally, I wanted to stay in this division. I know this is the toughest division of football right now. There's 3 teams that made the playoffs this year. I've got tremendous amount of respect for the coaches and the players in this league. Having competed against them for the last 6 years. Dane Campbell, Kevin O'Connell, you're talking about 2 guys that are up for Coach of the Year awards as the season ends here. And to be quite frank with you, I kind of enjoyed beating Matt LaFleur twice a year.
He just for saying that.
Hey, I like a lot what I heard, and I do like the fact that he addressed Caleb by name and said, you know, it's going to take more than just you. And I think that was to let him know that I'm here for you, but it's a team effort. And I know, like, sometimes tendency would, you know, he may want to play hero ball because he been on a bad team and you just trying to do what you can. But now you got a coach that wants you to play in the team concept, which is fine. And I believe Caleb bought into it. From watching this, I still don't understand the Caleb hate. Caleb is actually at the press conference waiting at the door for the coach.
See him?
He's dressed up. He's like taking it like
Bruce
it's a
Wayne
deal, right? He said, "Hey, I'm looking like Morpheus from Matrix," right? But he's dressed up. He's waiting on the coach to come. He sit in the front row. He bring his guys, right? DJ sit next to him. He got Rome next to him and Cole Kmet. So he got the crew there. If nobody else could make it, those guys made it. And DJ made the sacrifice to come in. And Caleb wanted him so bad that, you know, I know everybody know the story. He even got tricked, pranked a few weeks ago by somebody pretending to be Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
Some kids.
At least in his press conference, he didn't do no acronyms, or he didn't give us like the normal coach speech. He was authentic, and he I like what he said about handling players that do silly stuff. He said repeat offenders will be dealt with. So I like how he wasn't trying to be cliche. I like how direct he was. That gives you an opportunity to see what kind of coach he is. So for me, that was cool, because all that hits, principles stuff, that's cool to hear. But sometimes it's cool to just be yourself and come out there and be like, look, that's what we're gonna do. This is how we're gonna do it. And so that was pretty cool to hear him say that.
Yeah, but I think when you subscribe to a narrative, you're kind of bound to it, as opposed to not saying it at all.
Hmm.
Now you're open to everything. You know, the hits principle is great and all that stuff, but you know what? I kind of equate great coaches to guys like that people don't like. Like, for example, Bobby Knight. People hated Bobby Knight, but you know, if you look at per player that played for him, they love that guy because you know what? He was on their backside. But I remember Landon Turner got into a car accident. He got paralyzed. This dude flew from wherever he was to Landon Turner, took care of his hospital bills, but his players love him because you know what? I want to see a guy. You getting paid millions of dollars, and I understand that, but I'm not here to be your friend. I'm out here to get some W's. And if everybody kind of latches on to this guy and buys into his principle and be accountable, I think we could do something good, man.
Yeah.
Mm. But you got Plank.
I'm mirroring the same thing everybody else has said. We Bears fans first and foremost. So we live with the Bears. When they lose, we're upset. I've been looking forward to this season for the last 11 months. Now I got to
Mhm.
figure out what I can do to occupy my time for the next 11 months. I see the Bears
YouTube.
out there, but you know what? I'm buying in. So I'd like to see a couple of guys get slapped and kicked off the field real early. So
See?
that's a message, and then from there you can actually start working on who's going to really be part of your team.
Hey,
Mhm.
that thing that B Mace says, B Mason was exactly what I was saying. See, I also like that he said he would tear the playbook down to the studs, build a new offense around the talent that you have this year. If I could read into that and he does what he does, what that's going to mean is you're going to see Komet's catches go up.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he's right. I hope that's right, though. I hope he does that and he builds around Caleb because, I mean, you can be a successful quarterback, but the thing that puts you in another level is if you can incorporate a tight end. We got a 6'6" stud out here. They only got 11% of the catches last year. That's got to change, man.
Yeah,
Yo,
that's a
he,
great point, guy. Also, uh, I hope there's evaluation of players. I think as fans of Chicago, what we get caught up with is favorites, right? It's people
Yeah,
that all of us like. But when you make this kind of commitment to a coach, he has to be able to have the guys that want to be here and guys who fit that he the goal of this team. And people may have to get ready for this. It's some people that's gonna be let go and
hmm,
traded that people like. And that doesn't mean they're not gonna go to another place and play at that same level. That just means they're probably just not part of the success of this team that they plan on. Hey, if you go back and look at Washington last year, they let go a lot of defensive guys. One of them end up here. And for I'm sure the fans at Washington, some of them was like, man, what are they doing, man? They let go Chase Young, they let go Montez Sweat, they let go all these people, right? But look at it now, a year later, Washington is in the divisional championship round. So hey, sometimes
NFC
you gotta
Championship
let
game.
players
Yeah.
go because some players become part of your losing. They have developed a
hmm,
losing mentality, and they may be a great talent, but they're part of the losing mentality, and they are the guys who start expressing that uh-oh moment when things go wrong, and they
yeah,
kind of spread that to other people, those choking moments. Hey, when you get sometimes a young group of people, they sometimes don't know they're supposed to choke in those situations. They
yeah.
they don't know what they don't know.
you know something to echo that? I was literally watching earlier a clip of Cam Jordan of the Saints, and he was talking about that, and he was like good football players play winning football. He was like, you can have guys who get you like 12 sacks, but then in crucial moments, they running in the wrong gap or they looping around the quarterback and letting the quarterback get a gain of 15, gain of 20. So I agree with you 100%. Like hard conversations need to be had about this roster of certain players who probably do good stats, but when you turn on the tape, it's like, man, you do some stupid stuff in crucial moments. So you might have to get rid of some people to get people in here that actually going to add value to the team. I remember a guy who didn't get that much credit when he was here, and this is years ago, but Ian Scott was really a big part of that
He
Bears
He
was.
team
really
because
was. Yes.
he
Yes,
did
he
he
was.
did his he did his
Yes,
job.
he
So it's
was.
like it's players like that. Like you don't. Everybody cannot be a Pro Bowl on your team. You just need some guys who do their job and do it well. So I agree with you on that one, big bro. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
they're gonna have to
Hey,
really have them
B
conversations.
Mace, he
D-Man,
asked
yep,
about
right.
Khalil Mack. I'm actually welcome Camille Mack to me to come back if I could do a 2-year deal. Now I'm not saying that he's gonna be a world changer, but I am open to the idea if it allows us to get somebody else and don't pay out the window. So I'm not totally against it. I'm just bringing that up.
And I just want to say about the Khalil Mack thing, I'm open to it too. Just not a 2-year deal. I can do
Yeah,
it one.
exactly. Yeah.
I can do it one. I can do it one. And then going back to what he was saying about he could bring some Lions players, I like Kevin Zeitler, but he's old.
Yeah, he's 35.
Yeah, I think
So
he's
is Mac.
34, 35.
Mac is too.
But he's still a good player.
That's the
And,
Right.
thing, though. That father time, it come when it come.
Yes,
Yeah,
it does.
yeah.
Yes, it does.
So
that's
But
true.
watching him this year didn't seem like age was catching up with him. So that's one of the players that I looked at as far as like offensive linemen in free agency. Like, ooh, Kevin Zeitler might be a good choice. Only for 1 year though, because
You know what? I'm
if you
sorry.
go into this draft, if you sign a player like Khalil Mack or Kevin Zeitler, if you go into this draft and draft their replacement, then I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay.
What I will say about Khalil Mack is goes back at this whole now social media thing. Mack was playing hurt. You didn't hear one word out of his mouth. That dude just came out and played, and we were looking. But me personally, I'm kind of against it only because he's 35 years old and he was still
He's
kind of
34,
on.
but he's
well,
34. But I'm still looking at veteran leadership on such a young
Yeah,
team.
that's
Because
only.
if you look at our defensive line,
Mhm.
there are not a lot of veterans there. So
Right.
I'm not opposed or against. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
If the Bears came up and said we signed Khalil Mack to a 1-year, $6.5 million deal, I wouldn't be mad. That's
I
all.
mean, and even at 34, 30.
Not available. Is that why we going after Khalil Mack?
Say what now?
Play no more.
Huh?
Brian Urlacher. if we gonna go back and get Khalil Mack, we might as well get Brian Urlacher. We might as well get Mike Singletary. We might as well get Doug McFarlane, man. I mean, give me a break. We got rid of him 3 years ago because the contract was too heavy, and
But you got rid of him because of the contract, not because of his play. You got rid of him because of the contract, not because of his play.
He was hurt 3 out of the 4 years that he played.
He was on. He was on. He was a dog, but he was injured. That's like even with Tevin.
All I'm saying is we ain't gonna spend a whole lot of time on this.
Well, let me ask you this: with that whole thing with the Khalil Mack thing. Okay, with that being said, would you be willing to throw a bag at Tevin Jenkins right now?
No.
There
it is. That's all. That's all I say. It's no disrespect to Mack.
It's just not no big deal with me with Khalil, but I'm just saying I would entertain it. And I was saying that I didn't keep up with him in 2024, but I will say in 2023 he had 16 sacks. He had his highest number of sacks that he ever had his whole career, which is kind of a little different, right? Because usually people, as they age, they become less productive. They don't become more productive,
but they become smarter too.
But the fact that he became more healthy because he was injured a lot here. But anyway, the Bears, what they're building, there are going to be free agents that want to come here. Mm-hmm. And even though some fans have this distorted view that people want to come here too because people believe Caleb is going to be a good quarterback. And that's why I mean people have a distorted view because there's some people like Caleb's a buzz, Caleb suck, blah, blah, blah. I believe around the league, there are a lot of people in this league that thinks Caleb Williams is going to be a stud. And
most of them
with Ben Johnson,
players.
And then you got, they may see themselves as, man, all they need is me for the 3 technique. All they need
Right.
is me for the left guard, right? And man, that's a situation I would like to be in because now you went from laughing stock to actually a real team that people may say I may want to go play with them. But you got plenty.
Well,
Do y'all remember a guy by the name of Robert Quinn?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's out the league.
He got 18 sacks his last
19.
year playing.
19.
18 sacks his last year playing for the Bears. He blew his wad. Old guys don't get faster, don't get stronger, don't get better. Not in
yeah.
those positions. Now, if you want an old guy to play interior line, okay,
But,
I'll go for that for a couple years.
but I'm
That's a
gonna tell
good
you.
question right there too.
But I'm gonna tell you something, Blake. And my thinking is when we talking about Khalil Mack, I'm talking about like situational, like
That's
Von
all I'm
Miller.
talking about.
I'm not talking
Oh,
about it every down. Every
yeah.
down, he's gonna be in there every down. I'm talking about
Right.
situational.
The problem with that is Khalil Mack is still a 3-4 outside linebacker. So
Well, I mean, he done played with his hand in the dirt. He done played his hand. He has played with his hand in the dirt.
Well,
We
I
still
mean,
don't
we
know
it
don't
what
all
know
type of
what the
defense we're
depends.
running yet, do we?
coordinator is going to be,
That's
so
what
we
I'm
don't know what they're
saying.
going
We
to
don't
do.
even know what type of defense. But something
Yeah.
else. Speaking of defense, Cookie Commish, what about Briscoe? Do you think he'll stay healthy all next season? You know what? See, here's the deal. Like we talked about all year, it's one thing to get a concussion, but he was out since like October. It's something more than he's had 3 concussions, all
In
for
3
like a
years,
concussion each
three,
year.
three
But we
And
don't
concussions per year.
really know the truth with
right,
that
it's got to be
because
something else.
it could have been that, or it could have just been sometime the team, and they won't tell you this because they do it in college. Sometimes they know the season's over with. They'll tell your player like, "Yo, it's cool. You on the shelf for the rest of it. Get healthy." I know that's funny, Plank, but they do
No, you're
that.
right.
We
You're
don't
right.
know the
they're
truth.
not going to put him on the shelf for 11 games, guys. Come on.
Well, it all depends on
That's
that
really a problem.
concussion. But he could have. Okay, I'm saying at some point he probably was healthy enough to play, and they probably was just like, no.
And
That's
two,
what I'm thinking.
what it could have been too, the residual bruising of his brain may not have recovered as fast, and by the time it did, they might have said, "Hey," they looked at, "Okay, you've had a concussion every year, every each year that you've been here. It
And
took
we
a
only got
while.
3
Is
games
it
left.
worth us? Is it worth us putting you back in there?" No. So what's going to happen with him is starting training camp or even through the season when they go through, they're going to have to do some really serious evaluation with this guy because there's a truth of the matter is if you look back before concussion protocol was a thing, we're talking about 80s and 70s. There's a whole lot of dudes that was in the same situation, but they brought them back early. A lot of them can barely form a sentence. A lot of them, God rest their souls, took themselves out. And I will give them credit, which way, either way, I give them credit for respecting him enough as a person to even hold him out. You know what I'm saying? Instead of being like the type of guys like, oh, well, he's important to us, let's put him back out there. At least they cared enough about him to put him out. But we'll see, though.
Because under his whole when it came down to medical stuff, they were never honest with us because they weren't even honest with what's number 71's name that we got from the Bills who shouldn't be on this
Bates,
team.
Ryan
Bates,
Bates.
yeah, baby, yeah.
They weren't honest with us and
This
letting us
dude
know
flew to
where they
Europe.
traded from.
This
Yeah,
dude flew to Europe
from Europe to get
he flew
sim
to Europe
stills.
to
Yeah.
get X-rays on his shoulder.
Right, but no teams are really honest when it's outside of a
And
sprain. They're not. No
right.
teams are.
And they traded for him knowing that he was hurt.
Because when you but see if
And
you
they
put it
did the
out
same
there.
You try to
thing
get
with
back on the Ryan Poles thing. You try to
and
get back on Ryan Poles.
I'm just saying. They did the same thing with Karan Magaji too. We didn't know how hurt he was.
We saw where you was going, bro.
But look, as much as I hate that, I hate the lack of transparency.
Right.
I understand it from a company. Like if you own a company and if something goes wrong, and you can explain it in a second of what it really is, but the verbiage comes out to where is this something that can haunt you from a legal standpoint or from a standpoint there? Sometimes they lie, So I'm looking at Briscoe, like I said, like we were talking about Briscoe, like the last time I was saying, we used to talk about him like, man, he just just be rah. What's his problem? He need to play. But when he left, when he was out, we
It
realized
hurt
how
us.
important he was.
Yeah.
Because as we were talking about before, you could bring in a dude, the Superman, and put him in Briscoe's spot and be way better than him, but not even be as effective as him because the way it's styled. But I do with back to Brisker. I want to see what they're gonna say like around March, April, May, or something like that, as far as that's concerned. Because if they still swimming in, I'm thinking to me, I'm like, y'all need to go consider getting another defensive back and try to get a guy in there that's gonna be there for a minute because he may be out the league.
Because that
Yep.
Yeah, I
defense
got
did
a
change.
question before we wrap
That
up.
defense did change
Uh-huh.
when Billings and when Andrew Billings and Jaquan Brisker went out. That defense changed
Changed
big time.
everything.
Like
Yeah.
And you're
like
gonna have
Ben
to
Johnson said,
find.
they got real leaky when them
Yeah,
two
you're gonna have
guys
to.
when them two guys got
You
hurt,
got to
man.
find somebody
Yeah,
for
still,
Billings because
still
he might
learning.
not come back the same. You never know when
Right.
them injuries happen. You don't always come back the same. So,
And when they cut you, you're never the same either. I don't care
yep,
what type of freak of nature you are.
yep.
Yeah.
You got a middle
Hey,
linebacker
hey,
that keeps
What's the question?
running. That's the problem with the Bears defense.
That's a major issue. That's a
What's that
major
question,
concern.
B? What you got?
okay, hey, thank everybody for tuning in to Bears Banner. Please hit the subscribe button so you could get a notification when we drop new content. Hey, here's my question before we wrap up for the night is what are the two moves that you think is going to be very crucial to Ben Johnson next? And I'll start it off. The two moves I think is going to be crucial is hiring his defensive coordinator and hiring somebody with head coach experience on his staff, regardless of what position they're coaching. I think that's going to be key because he needs somebody on his staff that have done it before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that defensive coordinator is going to be important because you're in a division that could put up points. Everybody in the division could put up points. And you got to be able to stop your division opponents from putting up points because even in the loss, the Detroit lost the game that they had 31 points in.
Oh no, Detroit ain't got Ben Johnson no more, so how they gonna be able to put up points? I don't know, but I echo your sentiment, which is why I think Dennis Allen would be a great hire as a defensive coordinator, just because he's a defensive coordinator and he has head coaching experience. I hate that Fraley wind up changing his mind coming here because Fraley actually, and I don't know how true it is. Fraley actually thought he was gonna come here and call plays. Come on, bro.
Really?
Ben Johnson is calling the plays. So he's been elevated from what I've heard. He's been elevated as the offensive coordinator in Detroit. And I hate that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I hate that because I thought we was going to be able to steal a great offensive line coach to elevate him as the offensive coordinator for the Bears. But so he's going back. But I totally agree with you. That's one of the things that, I talked about Eberflus and his staff, that he had not one person on his team that had one person on his staff that had head coaching experience, because he was afraid that he had somebody on his staff that was going to replace him. I don't think Ben Johnson has that problem, because I do think Ben Johnson has the confidence in him doing what he's going to be able to do. I'm hoping he's going to be able to do that. But I think he's going to put together a good staff. I really do, because I think that players and coaches are going to want to come here. I really believe that. This is actually opening up a big window for the Bears that, okay, we doing this. This ain't the old Bears. Kevin Warren has got this in here, and he's gave Ryan Poles carte blanche to be like, okay, this is what we're going to do. So I think that with that mindset, I think people are going to actually want to come here.
Yeah. I got the same thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kristen.
No, go ahead, bro. No,
I would say, you know what, that too, the coach, and I'd like to see Dan Rizzi come in from New Orleans with special teams, But my other thing I like to see, and y'all heard it before, man, let's get Trey Smith in here. Go ahead, throw that bag at that dude, get him in here. I know people laughing, but when I say if y'all watch Kansas City, all you got to do look at the right guard, and it'll tell you everything you need to know. This dude is a bona fide young stud. One game in 5 years that he's missed, and he's all pro, and he's ranked 8th amongst all offensive linemen. You get that guy as a start. You get your coaching staff. Now you get to go in the draft, and you get to think a little bit differently. I'm not saying gamble. You can be much smarter in the draft, but what you can build from the draft, from what you add with the free agents, it could be something special next year. And we could even be ahead of schedule. But having that nucleus of the coaches in there right now, you got some guys that you're going to see familiar faces for the next couple years. And if it's successful, we could do some damage. We could sort of at least change the landscape of how Northern Conference football, NFC football is run. We could be sleek with it, but we could also play hard defense, and we can run up against some AFC teams and put some fear in them.
Okay. Yeah, hey, I'd like to thank Man and Murdoch. I know it said your first time here. We appreciate everybody.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it, bro.
Hey, stay locked in with us. Like they say that
Yes,
we're going into
sir.
our 6th season doing this show. We actually have a couple of spinoff shows of this show. We had a show with Christian Jones, which is the 2-minute drill, where we exclusively talk about quarterback play. Then we also have another show on this platform where we talk about Chicago high school football legends. Okay, what you got?
For me, I would say just hiring a good staff, veteran staff. I know all of them are not going to be veterans, but in the crucial ones, like the ones that cause development at the crucial positions, like quarterback, wide receiver, of course your D line, then your DC, OC. That's important too, because he gonna need somebody that's gonna be helping with the game planning and running meetings, because he's gonna be in so many. He's got to do other stuff like press conferences, stuff like that. So he's gonna need to hire somebody who he trusts to be able to install whatever the game plan is for the week. And then number 2, y'all gonna laugh, but I'm serious. The evaluation of Braxton Jones, because how they approach that will determine what they do in the off
In
season
the draft,
and the draft.
absolutely.
So if he feel like he can turn him around, then we got no choice. But if he be like, yeah, no, he's not a left tackle that I can win with, then that will set how we're gonna do in the draft and all season. So it's just those 2 things for me.
Hey, before we even go into another one, I also want to thank Crooked Commish for signing up with us, man. I love it when you get some guys that come up in here. He's made some posts and made some really good, good opinions out here on some stuff, man. We love that, man. Appreciate you. We appreciate Mind and Murdoch as you were, guys. I'm sorry.
Okay.
To answer your question, defensive coordinator, that's always going to be big in Chicago. Chicago's a defensive town. No matter how many quarterbacks and wide receivers and all that other stuff, we got to establish being gritty and being a good defense. Dennis Allen, I would love to see him come here because he checked a bunch of boxes. He's a great defensive coordinator. He can scheme up things. He used to scheme up things to kill Tom Brady. So you know he
I
knows.
know you.
Number 2, he's also a very good. He used to be a coach. He used to be a head coach. So that actually takes two boxes. Lastly, whoever this offensive coordinator is, you need somebody that knows how to develop offensive linemen. The offensive coordinator, because the head coach is already an offensive savant, you don't need somebody who can never necessarily think about schemes and all of that stuff.
Yep.
You just need somebody that you can elevate to offensive coordinator title. So if nothing else, he gets a little bit more props. But he needs to learn how to get with these offensive linemen. And we need some really gritty and dirty dudes coming up in the field. So
Okay. Hey, y'all, let's get ready to shut it down for the night. Y'all got any closing remarks before we get ready for the next show? But I know the next show we're gonna evaluate Ryan Poe's draft picks over the last 3 seasons. And we're gonna call him to the task because I know we did the same thing with Ryan Pace draft pick he was let go.
We're
Anything
gonna
for
have
you? We close out.
the Thanos glove and be ready to give it to Christian right away.
Yeah, please do.
Well, you know what I
Hey,
do?
thank
Hey,
you
hey,
so much.
appreciate that, B Mace, man. But you know what I want to say? It's been almost 6 years, man, and it's like every year we pick up some people, like all these people that are on tonight, man. Y'all fans just like us. We may not necessarily agree with what you guys say, but we respect the fact that we can read what you say and disagree, but we can
Yeah.
tell y'all watch football and y'all understand. So don't take it personally, man. It's all love. We appreciate y'all being here. Bring your cousin and them too.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hold on, got one more comment. Let's see what's up there for. Oh, no problem, no problem.
Check me out anytime. Love the show.
Okay.
Sorry, show might be nice from what I heard. So appreciate you, man.
All
Thank you,
right.
bro.
Until
Appreciate
next
it,
time.
man.
Peace.
Peace.